my skin so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Life Gorgeous. My name is Mr. Craig Kilborn. This is where I share my magical life in hopes of improving your life. Is there stress in the Life Gorgeous? Yes, on occasion when you follow a sports team, and then on rare occasions at a French restaurant if they run out of cordon bleu, chicken cordon bleu, or beef Wellington. If they run out of escargot, the restaurant should be closed down. We bring in two of my buddies from Minneapolis, even though one of them lives somewhere else in Portland. We don't care. Legendary podcasters. Phil Mackey, first of all, from Skor North, Purple Daily, Flagrant, Howls. Nice to see you, sir. And just so I remember, you guys are in the top 10 or something, but your guys are doing well with your podcast.
Before the Dallas series, Flagrant Howls was all the rage across the country. It was 7th on the Apple National Basketball charts. And now I think it's just a doom. I've just been doom scrolling Wolves Twitter for the last 36 hours. I don't know about you guys.
You're going to love my first question to you in a bit. But okay, we also have Kyle, and it's pronounced Theige. I like to say Theige.
I like to say that too. So you hit it right on the head.
What is the correct one? Theige?
That's it. You got it. Very rarely do people get it right. But our friendship, you've learned how it's called. So yeah, Kyle Theige, and I'm just here to make you and Phil look good. So thanks for having me on. This is like
Kyle's
an awesome opportunity.
He's a little out of breath. He had to put up 1,500 shots this morning before he jumped on this Wolves recap podcast.
Phil, that's just cat speak. It's really only 100. No, okay. So also, what was I going to say about Kyle? This is your first time, so if we get to it, you have to do your top 5 movies, and Phil and I will evaluate. First question: we're down 0-3 to the Dallas Mavericks. Phil Mackey, my first fun question for you is, I was raised not to use the word hate. We say dislike, but I am now going to use the word hate because I'm asking you a question. Who do you hate more? Karl Anthony Towns or Kirk Cousins?
Wow, dude. Wow. You know, I should read you my text messages from my other co-host, Judd Zolgad, who you've had on the Life Gorgeous before. And I think the last one is, Cat is turning into Kirk Cousins in front of our eyes. The box scores, but then like when the chips are really on the table.
Right.
I think Flip Saunders once said the truth cannot be controversial. And unfortunately, the truth is, I was just digging around like a masochist on Basketball Reference this morning, just trying to put this all into context. And so Karl Anthony Towns, who is, I think, the greatest shooting big man in the history of the NBA. Ahead
of Bob McAdoo and Dirk Nowitzki. Okay, go ahead.
There's the Dirk defenders out there, just like there's the Cousins Crusaders, you know. But he's one of the greatest shooting big men in NBA history. But over these last 3 games, he's one of only 16 players in NBA history to shoot 28% or worse over a 3-game playoff stretch, minimum 50 shot attempts. And so whether it's bad luck, bad bounces, or just like wilting in the moment, you can put your own conclusion to it. But yeah.
And he's our best shooter on the team. But this is not working. And I am going to ask you, Kyle. I guess, Kyle, what are your thoughts on the Wolves right now? And what are your thoughts on Cat?
You know, it's an interesting series, right? Because there's a lot of things you can talk about, adjustments, different coverages, but it's really come down to, like it was in last series, it's like the Phoenix series, it was, can Ant be the best player on a floor with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker? And he did it, and they swept him real quick. And then against Denver, it was a little more of a team battle, but, you know, they still needed Ant to be at his best to outduel Jokic, and I think he did that for the most part, and then they pull that comeback off down 3-2. In this one, it's a dynamic duo in Dallas and a dynamic duo in Minnesota, and one of those has just executed. I mean, I think Kyrie and Luka are averaging a little north of 60 points in every game. Right. I don't think Karl and Ant have gotten above 40 points in any game. Right. So you're just spotting a team that executes better than you do, might be a little better, well coached in this series at least. Right. You're giving them 20 points. Yeah. And when you're losing, you know, all 3 games by a total of 13 points, you just can't do that. So Ant hasn't been good, but Karl's been even worse, and it just has left the rest of the team without a lot of options or a lot of different levers to pull to try to make this thing a series.
Yeah, sometimes I like to simplify it. And prior to the playoffs, because I remember what Dwayne Wade did when he beat Dirk Nowitzki the first time. And someone said Dwayne Wade, the superstar, outplayed the other superstar. So I said before the playoffs, we'll go as far as Ant takes us, which is a lot of pressure on Ant. But, I do want to bring up, I'm still surprised on a number of levels with our team because I've said all year we need a third scorer. And now, of course, against Dallas, we need a second scorer. Yeah. But I'm sometimes surprised at how well we do play, because as much as we love defense, good offense will beat good defense. I mean, you can cover Luka and he'll hit a fall away three. So I'm stunned. I'm just going to go back. I can't believe we beat Denver. Do you guys? What was your reaction to beating Denver?
So you're like reverse off the bandwagon. Kilby's going back, and you're like jumping off the Denver Wolves bandwagon in retroactively. Is that what's happening?
No, I'm not. No. I'm pleased. I think what I do is I've already jumped ahead, and I have questions here. I think it might be sacrilege because the series is not officially over, and I'm holding space that we win some games here.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you about some off-season moves. So I just wanted to go back and say, we did beat Denver in Game 7, which I found surprising. I want to be candid. When I was at Games 3 and 4 in Minnesota and I watched the Denver offense, I just said, I think they're a better team. So I'm very pleased that we beat Denver. You guys have just moved on from that. We beat Denver, right? You're focused fully on the Mavs right now.
I think there's it's hard in today's media world where you have to have a hardline take and you cannot deviate despite new information being presented. And if you deviate, now you're a flip-flopper. I think in this case, there's space for two sort of macro thoughts. One being, what a great season. First time in 20 years, Western Conference Finals. It doesn't feel like just a random pop-up where, next year you're going to fall back into the play-in. It feels like the opening of a window here with a 22-year-old superstar. And let's say you get beat, maybe it's a sweep, maybe you fight back, maybe you force a Game 6 or a Game 7 like we saw last year. No matter what happens, you have a month and a half of great playoff experience and grind, and maybe some heartache that you have to sit on that will make you better for the future. A lot of good things.
Right.
And some red flags have clearly popped up here with this team that if you want to get to the level that champions get to, you probably can't just run this thing back again. And then, there's room for two different feelings and discussions here.
That's a good point. I'm glad that you have the maturity, the intellectual maturity to articulate what you just did.
Yes.
This is a proud moment for me.
Ant is maturing as a basketball player. I am maturing as a hot take artist in sports talk. Yes.
Okay. Kyle, if Cat was playing normal in this series, would we be up 3-0?
I don't think so. And if they would have gotten a better performance from Karl, Phil highlighted it. It's pretty bad. It's historically bad.
It's awful.
These 3 games. But I comped it to Dane Moore last night as when you if you like to run, if you've done a 10K or a half marathon or whatever, and you train and you have the same endurance and all this stuff as the person running with you, and you're running the whole way, and you get to the final lap or the final mile, that's usually when you sprint, right? You just try to gas it all out to get to the finish line. And when you look over to the right of you, that other person is just longer strides. They're pulling up ground. They're gaining away from you. And you look at yourself and you think, I am going 100%. I am emptying the tank.
Right.
Like, Phil, a little football analogy. If we're even, I'm leaving. When the Wolves and Mavs get even in all 3 games now, right, with 5 minutes left, it's been a tie game. The Wolves look next to them, and the Mavs have a longer stride, a little faster burst, and they just pull away. So I think Karl obviously could have played so much better and has really kind of let them down in this Western Conference Finals. But I also have just a lot of respect across the floor because Kyrie and Luka are 2 of the best to ever do it. We always think back, Kilby, to that LeBron block in that Golden State series. That was such a pivotal moment of our basketball fandom. But it was equally cool what Kyrie did to hit that 3. That's what won him that game. And Kyrie just is so clutch and nails. Last night he hits that kind of fadeaway fill right in front of the Mavs bench to ice it with Karl and Ant both on him. So I think it's been back to the Denver thing, Phil. Someone sent me a message. Would you rather have go through what we're going through now, being down 0-3 and just getting waxed, or lost Game 7 of the last round? Come on, like
Yeah.
I want as much basketball as possible. So
It's a blast, 100%.
So you're learning in real time that as good as Ant has become, and as good as Jaden has had a really good series, I think, and Naz has had a really good Western Conference Finals. They look to the right of them, and that other athlete in the race or the final lap just has another gear that this team hasn't developed yet, and that'll be something they work on this summer, I would imagine.
Yeah, and when I asked that question, because I said, wow, if Cat plays normal, maybe we win. Then I go, wait a second, you can't do that because you don't know if Cat plays normal, maybe Luka scores 50.
Yeah.
We don't know how he's going to react to Cat playing well. He might just score even more. What I didn't know is I didn't know the Dallas team after the draft. I didn't know how good they were. I don't think they did. They're gelling. When we beat Phoenix, I see Phoenix as a damaged team. I saw them as flawed. Denver, it was wild, and we're a good team. I think we can play with anybody. We should have won Game 2 against Dallas at home.
Yeah.
I know there were a couple. There was that bad call with Jaden out of bounds, but during the regular season, we have always had a problem in crunch time with our offense. It's hit or miss. Why do you guys think our crunch time offense isn't as good as other teams, championship teams?
I want to hear Kyle. You go first.
This has been, and Kilby's been on it, and Phil's been on it. This has been my favorite season in 35 years. This has been, in my opinion, the best team in 35 years.
Wait, what about the D'Lo playing game against the Clippers when he hit the rainbow? D'Lo, I'm saying D'Lo before Phil Mackey. I said D'Lo before Phil Mackey. I win.
That didn't make my top 5, but no, I think they might have. I was thinking about this morning. I think they might have masked low basketball IQ with effort, because all season effort is why they played such good defense, and that's why I think Chris Finch is such a good coach, because he got them to play at a level, especially a bunch of younger guys. I know Rudy's older, I know Mike's older, but this is still Nikhil, Naz, Jaden, Ant, a younger team, and they gave so much effort in January, Kilby, playing defense. But their basketball IQ might leave a little bit on the table, and they mask that by just playing hard, and you can get away with that in the regular season. But when it's kind of dialed up in the postseason and these possessions, I mean, again, 5 minutes left in every game, it's tied. And then again, it's just the runner on your right is just going ahead of you. They don't know how. Ant doesn't have spots, Phil. Like Kyrie and Luka, when it's a tie game, there's 2 minutes left, and they bring the ball up and they're walking it, they go, I'm going to either go to that spot or that spot. And I've taken those shots 1,500 times, right? And I'm going to hit it. Ant doesn't have spots yet. He's worked on his footwork. He's worked on his playmaking. But I think that's something maybe this summer, when he spends all summer with Team USA and his buddies are KD and Steph and LeBron, he starts to develop like 1 or 2 moves. Because I don't know what Ant's go-to moves are late in the game. And he's going to need to kind of work on those, I think, to take the next level up. Because every summer he's gotten better. And if he can find a finishing move, kind of like a Mortal Kombat TKO, it'll just put him in that sphere of a Luka Doncic.
He's like I'm a big wrestling nerd going back to my childhood and even my adulthood. And like all of the top wrestlers, Hulk Hogan had his leg drop.
Yeah.
And Stone Cold.
Jimmy's Superfly Snuka from the top rope.
Yes. the splash from the top of the cage once in Madison Square Garden.
Ant needs a people's elbow.
What's the Stone Cold Stunner? What's the people's elbow? For Luka, he's got a couple different variations. Like The Rock had the rock bottom and the people's elbow. Luka has the step back 3, and he's also got the barrel his way into the lane and, get whatever he wants there. So, yeah, I think Kyle, and not to just spend the whole episode picking on Karl Anthony Towns, because I think up until this Dallas series, he has been wonderful, and he bodied up Kevin Durant defensively, and I don't think they win the Denver series without Karl Anthony Towns.
That is a great point, because as I remember the Denver series, I completely forget. Cat's the only guy that can slow Jokic. No one else on the can. And by the way, you said something, Kyle. You were talking about basketball IQ. In the regular season, we turn it over, and I'm a purist, and I loathe turnovers. I like high field goal percentage and low turnovers. But I don't think Jaden can pass. I don't think Naz is a great passer. He's a good ball handler. They all scare me. But in this series, I think Jaden and Naz have played very well. Mike Conley is just wonderful. It's mainly Cat, and the problem with Ant, and he's amazing, and it's the same with D Wade and LeBron is he's just got to keep working on his jump shot. That's the main thing, and some of his decision making. But we have kept the turnovers down in this series, except for in the last 5 minutes, a couple key turnovers. With Father's Day right around the corner, what do you give the man who has everything? Oh, it's easy. You give him an experience he'll never forget. You give him Omaha Steaks, because a world-class dad deserves a world-class steak. I had the greatest dad ever. Very funny, brilliant. He'd fly through the crossword puzzle in the morning. And we loved buying Omaha Steaks. We'd make them on the grill, listen to some Sinatra, maybe some Nat King Cole. It's called living. Well, the Father's Day experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to put a smile on the big guy's face this summer with hand-selected gift packages starting at just $89. Just go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code KILLBORN at checkout for an additional discount when you shop gourmet gift packages for Father's Day. With Omaha Steaks, the possibilities are endless. Endless flavor, endless variety, and endless value. Truly, they have perfected more than the steak, and your dad is guaranteed to love every bite. Order now and send Dad unforgettable gift packages starting at just $89 with promo code KILLBORN. Go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code KILLBORN to get an exclusive saving. Shop for unforgettable gifts that are guaranteed to make Dad's day. Because if there's one thing Omaha Steaks knows, it's that dads want steaks. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code KILLBORN at checkout to save on exclusive packages starting at just $89. Proud of you. Let me first ask you this. Do we win game 4? I have a percentage. I have a percentage of what I think of us winning that game.
Really?
Yeah, I think, yeah. Do you think, Phil?
Should we all say our percentage at the same time?
Sure.
See what.
3.
Do you want to go? Is it 3, 2, 1, and then the percentage?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is percentage that they win game 4, right?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. 40%.
95.
Oh, you guys say 85? Oh, good.
Yeah. I think
See,
they're. I don't think they're booking tee times.
I'm pulling. I mean, I think they could do it, but I'm being realistic because sometimes I just think because of the whole Luka Kyrie thing, it could be the same. Again, tied with 2 minutes left, and then Luka hits a bomb and Kyrie. But yeah, we could have more fun. How many does Cat score in game 4?
There, that's a great question. Now you got me all
20.
My mind's blown. Phil, here's the reason I say it's like 95%, and I get it, right? The numbers tell you there you can't. Although last season in the playoffs, a team in the East was down 3-0 and forced a game 7. So we've seen it get close, but no one's ever done it, right?
The reason it's 95 for you and 80 for me is because we are unabashed homers. That's why.
That too. But also, a storyline of this whole season has been this team has never lost 4 in a row, ever. Whether it be playoffs, whatever. They've never lost 4 in a row. This would be the 4th one. So there is some, poetry in that where if they finally do get swept.
Well, we lost 3 straight. We hadn't lost 3 straight all year. We did it against Denver. We lost.
But
3
then,
straight.
everyone thought down 3 that going into Minnesota or whatever, you've lost 3 in a row. And it's like they're going to lose, and they came out one by 50 against the defending champ. So. Yeah. I don't know how many Carl's going to score. He would have to, Kilby, score 20 for me to have any chance to hit on this prediction. But that coaching staff and this team, one of the things I've fallen in love with them is obviously defense and their energy and Ant, but they also are a little resilient. And I would imagine.
I totally agree.
And
I thought we were going to win. I thought we were going to win last night before the game.
Yeah, me too.
I thought I'm waiting for us to kick in the way we did against Denver. And it's not happening.
Wolves in 9, guys. Wolves in 9. We still got this.
I think it'll be interesting though to see what they do because, like Kilby said, like Finch has those guys resilient that even in tough spots, like they're not going to come back from this, so they're going to lose. They always do fight back. So do I think the series is over? Yes, the math would kind of tell you that, but it'll be interesting to tune in on Tuesday and see what kind of pride level they have because Shaq talked about it last night, like. Getting swept, no matter even if it's in the finals, that kind of sticks on your resume.
Oh, yeah.
And a guy like Ant-Man who said last night, I'm still pretty optimistic because I've been through way worse in my life than losing basketball games. I'm curious to see how they respond on Tuesday, even though everything tells them it's over.
Well, I do like that. I like this for multiple reasons. It's very positive, and I know about people in Minnesota having this dread and woe is me because of the Vikings and the history. But I had guys from Minnesota text me before the game saying we're going to win by 20 yesterday. We were going to win by 20 because they keep thinking this team is special, and it is. Luka's unbelievable, just to let you know. He's unbelievable. So we could actually be playing well. If Cat was playing normal and we were losing, it would be easier to stomach if Luka and Kyrie are just going berserk. I'm just going to jump to this because I have to do it. This is the way my brain works. And Phil, you talked about you got to build a championship team. And I don't want this to, again, be – I'm pulling for us, and we could be the first team to win 4 straight. I know that. I'm aware of that. So, but I have said over the years, because everyone, Cat is polarizing, and I said a few years ago, and I'm a big fan of Cat, is I will listen to trade offers. I will do that. And when I say I'm a fan of Cat, I'm a fan of Ricky Rubio. He's one of my favorite players. Thibodeau got rid of him because he didn't think he could shoot. It's the way, and Utah got rid of him with Mike Conley coming in, and they got rid of him in Phoenix. He's still one of I always rooted for him. I rooted for Kevin Love. If we trade Cat to the Knicks, I hope he flourishes because he's an offensive savant. Someone on this panel is an offensive savant. This is the way it is. We just can't be stopped. Anywho, Phil, specifics. Who do you want on the team next year?
Wow. So do you want me to? Well, okay.
Because I haven't thought. I hear Darius Garland. Okay, they might trade him.
I'll give you this one.
Okay.
I'll give you this one because I haven't done because unlike Kilby, who you just heard it, folks. He just bailed. He doesn't think they can come back. He's the first one to officially bail.
We're going to win 4 straight, and we still might make some tweaks in the offseason.
So yeah, because you're building a dynasty at that point, right? It's about legacy. So I have not done the full who could they trade for, what pieces would they have. I haven't done all the research, but there is one that we have. I'll even float a second one, but I'll give you this one first.
Okay.
If Kevin Durant is just sort of, because he gets bored every 2.5 years, right? He's basically, ever since he left Oklahoma City, he goes and wins a couple titles in Golden State. Then he's like, I got to go build my own thing. Then he goes to Brooklyn. Then he wants out. And if Kevin Durant, 35 years old, says, I'm not feeling this whole Phoenix thing, would you swap what would essentially be multiple years of Karl Anthony Towns prime, age 28 through, because he's under contract for 4 more years or something?
Yep.
Would you swap his prime for, let's say, a year or two of Kevin Durant? And now you've got your second. When we talk about second offensive guy, Cat can get offense, but when it's a tied game, 2 minutes to go, and you're playing Luka and Kyrie. He's not he doesn't.
Right, no. I've said this to you guys before and other people. Cat doesn't do pull-up jump shots. He can't take 3 dribbles and pull up like Brandon Ingram or Kevin Durant. He can't even back people down and shoot a turnaround jump shot.
It's not
He's either
microwave.
a spot-up shooter or line drive to the rim.
Which means he probably has to be the third guy on a championship team. Like a Chris Bosh or somebody, right?
Yeah,
or a Kevin Love.
Yes, that's a good point. But I when you say that, I'm inclined to say yes, because you also free up money after Durant. You said 2 years of Durant, and then you free up a bunch of money to get other players besides Cat, because you're getting rid of Cat's salary. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. You got to remember, young players, that the Pistons traded the great Adrian Dantley to get Mark Aguirre. That was mainly because Isaiah didn't like him. And then DeMar DeRozan was traded to get Kawhi Leonard up in Toronto. So you guys, I guess you'll be doing this on Flagrant Howls later in the offseason, but who should the Wolves get? And I don't know. I haven't scoured the league. I will say this. I am opinionated about guys. I was never a Zach LaVine fan. Go, Kyle.
But he is available.
I know. I don't want him. I don't like his game.
$50 million a year.
I don't like his game.
I think what Kilby just brought up is actually something, we will talk about all offseason, but I was a little more steadfast in defending Cat against, Phil. We've had these battles, but because I thought Karl was kind of, or would be at times, that Kyrie, that secondary scorer that Ant could take plays off. And in Carl's defense in the Phoenix series, they don't win that series in my mind either without those bursts. Carl gave him a burst of scoring in every game. And then Denver, it was the defense against Jokic, and then he also gave him bursts. I mean, again,
Game
we
7,
love Ant.
he was scoring. He was very good in Game 7.
And Ant was 6 for 24, right? Those are kind of Kobe numbers. But in this series, when they needed him the most, they just, like Phil said, he doesn't really have spots. He doesn't like.
Yes. My problem is in general, I want players that are more consistent. I just love consistency. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think this team, I thought this in like January, even when the offense kind of stagnated. Phil, they need another like shot creator. And to me, more
like a Jalen Noel.
Yeah,
type
something
guy,
like
right?
that. Like, I mean, I really do think of, I know the contracts
I
don't work.
used to love him.
We did too, by the way. We would
gave
clown
him $80
people
million.
that didn't think he was going to be a Supermax player.
Right.
The early days of Flagrant Howls were a very pro Jalen Noel podcast a couple years ago.
The contracts don't work and all that stuff. But like Malik Monk is someone that comes to mind. Just another guy that Ant can take plays off. I mean, last night they take Mike and they put him on Kyrie because they want to give Ant breaks on defense. Because you can't. There's only so much you can ask of a gas tank, and Ant was doing so much. But offensively, it's fun to watch when Luka goes and stands in the slot and Kyrie cooks, and he's either going to get a bucket or, last night it happened twice, kicks it to Luka, who's standing flat-footed from 30, and then he can take a catch-and-shoot jump shot. That's what Ant needs. It can't be Mike Conley at that age. Mike's out there to kind of be a professor, get everyone involved, and keep them on task. It's not going to be Rudy, right? He's all defensive player of the year. But they need someone else, and you thought that'd be Carl, but when you find out that Carl doesn't have those moves, Phil, you're talking about, it's either catch-and-shoot threes or, I guess offensive rebounds. That is where you start to look at, is there a better way to use that amount of salary in different pieces? Because Ant needs a running mate.
Yeah, and I used to drool over guys like Norman Powell, and you mentioned Malik Monk. These scores off the bench, but we definitely need to make some changes. We don't have to talk about the offseason now. I just wanted to bring it up to see if you guys had thought about like who this player should be or players we should try to go after.
Yeah,
I'm going to read you something. My question is, are you more disappointed in the offense or the defense? And I just want to read you from our friend, you've heard of him, Dane Moore. This was 33 minutes ago or so.
he has a well-named podcast too, the Dane Moore NBA podcast, which you can find.
Legend. Surprised he used this word. I think the biggest thing is that Cat had jobs to defend in isolation against Denver. Ant and Murray and Jokic. Their intellectual strengths. He's using the word intellectual here. Their intellectual strengths in the Denver series. In this series, they are tasked with defending in rotation their intellectual weaknesses. So are you more disappointed in the defense or the offense for the Wolves?
I'm going to say it's tough because if you look at if you want to get real stat nerdy here, the Wolves actually have a better net offensive rating in this series than they did in the Denver series.
Oh, wow.
It's their defense that's been carved apart by two of the all-time great isolation scorers. And part of it is and Dane kind of outlined this, the way that you go about defending a Denver or a Phoenix is much different than the way you have to go about. I mean, the Wolves tried like 7 or 8 different attacks on Luka last night.
Yes.
And I think the one that was working the best, and I don't have the data on this, but just what my eye test was when they would essentially blitz him off of a pick and roll, and then they would force a pass into the lane, and they were doing a better job. They were essentially coming off of the corner 3-point shooters and daring, 32% Washington to knock them down, and they did.
Yes, they did, but that's okay.
They made the trade-off. They said, instead of giving up 15 automatic dunks like in Game 2 and Game 1, which are automatically 2 points, let's at least make them shoot an open 3, and maybe one of our guys can get out there and sort of contest it. And they made the threes in Game 3.
Yeah, I would double Luka as much as possible. One of his weaknesses, and he even did it yesterday late, he turns it over. He will turn it over. He will make the great pass, especially at the last second. But I would prefer watching those other guys make the shots than Luka. So I'm a double team blitz kind of guy. I like that.
You've always been, by the way. You've always been.
How irritating is the national media? I'm talking about inside the NBA. Before we get specifically to Draymond, Barkley says a lot of annoying things, like he doesn't. It's like they haven't really seen our team play. Are you irritated first by Barkley or Shaq saying things about the Wolves?
I think what kind of broke me last night, Kilby, was, Draymond's going to be him, and we can talk about that. And, it is what it is. But with last night, Charles, who Phil, we both love Charles Barkley, and he's been a big part of our lives growing up being basketball fans. But last night, he just took, and again, Carl was terrible last night. But in post game, he takes Carl to task and rips him for not doing post game media. When in reality, he does post game media.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
He wasn't at the podium, but he did.
Right,
But
Charles played, we didn't. And the way that goes is that the media or whatever requests people to go up to the podium. It's not it's not just a place that everyone can be like, I might stop by the podium, like Kilby stops by a bar for a cocktail. No one wanted Carl up at the podium because he didn't have a podium game. He had the opposite. Right. So, but when those
that was
people,
lame, yeah.
I would argue he actually did have a podium game, and that he was he is a person that should have been on a podium talking about shooting 28% over 3 games. But I digress.
But seriously, he wasn't asked to do it. So if I'm not asked to go up to the podium, and then Phil says, I can't believe he didn't do the podium. It's like that stuff at that high level, because everyone loves inside the NBA. When you start putting that stuff out there, that's not how it happened. That means because Carl did speak publicly just outside the locker room. So that's the type of stuff that you just start making these completely false claims. Right. That kind of bugs me because that shapes the narrative. Carl was terrible, but we don't need to pile on things that actually weren't true.
Well, Barkley and Phil like to pile on. That's the joy they get in life.
We love J.D. Hoyt's and we love piling on, 100%. Yeah.
I have not been to J.D. Hoyt's. I keep going to Mason Margaux, David Fima's iconic French restaurant. It's only been around a couple years. The reason Cat wasn't at the podium is because someone had the game of his life. Kyle Anderson, slow-mo, was at the podium.
Did you guys by the way, so Ant threw slow-mo a grenade with a second half left on the shot clock. And have you ever gone to a batting cage where you can crank it up to 95 miles an hour and act like a major league hitter? And you have to start your swing as the machine is loading up the ball. So slow-mo realizes he starts his shooting motion before he gets the ball.
I loved it. I mean, that guy's he's a skilled player, both on offense and defense. And you heard Finchy say he should have played him more. I mean, I think you could switch things up a little bit in game 4 with small lineups and different lineups. It doesn't bother me. We did take Rudy off the court in the fourth quarter there for a stretch. We were playing pretty well. I think I already ask you about Naz. Did I already say?
No,
you guys know? I have. Okay. So I know everyone loves Naz but I don't think he's great on defense or a great rebounder. So he's playing, but he's really effective. And it's refreshing because he goes quick as opposed to Cat sometimes. And he's not as big as Cat. So when he drives to the lane, it's not a big train wreck, you know what I'm saying? And he lays it in. So what do you guys think of Naz?
I think my one concern is if we kind of look ahead now, the series isn't over technically, but if we look ahead to the summer, I think a lot of it will be. No, I am not bailing. I said 95%. I was the highest percentage. I win.
We can do multiple things in our head. We can think this and this,
I think when people
I'm still trading Cat if we win the championship. No.
If they do end up moving Carl this summer, Phil, I get a little hesitant about just slotting Naz in at the starting power forward, not because we don't all love Naz, and maybe one of us even on the thing has a Naz tattoo, but he doesn't rebound well for his position. He is, as Dane has always said, he's kind of become like an elite 3, kind of a perimeter player. He doesn't have all the skills that Paolo Banchero has because Paolo was the number 1 pick and Naz Reed was undrafted, but there's similarities in their games. There's similarities to how he kind of plays like Carmelo at times, but he doesn't rebound. And then Jaden, because of what he's doing and guarding on the perimeter, he doesn't rebound. So all of a sudden now, Carl was bad last night. Carl's been bad all series, but he did grab 11 rebounds in a game when Rudy
Cat can rebound. He's always been able to rebound.
So if you have a thin front line, you can't. What are you going to do? Ask Ant to now average 10 rebounds a game? At some point, you have to figure out what you have to let Ant rest on. So I love Naz. I think he's bounced back. His confidence. Has so much swagger. I hope he retires here. I mean, can you imagine Phil Naz Reed ever leaving the way that he's been embraced? But he's not ready yet in my mind to be the starting 4, and if he is, they're going to have to find other ways to kind of get more rebounding and rim protection surrounding him.
Did I ever tell you guys my theory? And I always say I like Naz. Everyone else loves Naz. If his name was Joe Reed, he would not be as popular as he is.
Yeah.
People like saying Naz.
Yeah, that's the Midwesterners. Yes.
Yeah, not a lot of Kyle Theige tattoos on people's lips and fingers, if that was his name.
Joe Smith. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Okay, Draymond, how irritating. Because I'll let everybody I know and media people I respect are saying it's so irresponsible of Turner Sports to have him on the panel. Your thoughts on Draymond Green?
I would say a couple things. I mean, obviously, it hits a little closer to home for Timberwolves fans who saw him choking out Rudy Gobert in the middle of a basketball game and then going on his journey for self-help and like a suspension that was really like a self-help journey. And then he comes back and he's just still kind of the same old Draymond. When it comes to TV networks looking to put entertaining, polarizing people on camera, I mean, that's been happening for decades and decades. So I get it from Turner's perspective. I would think that the NBA would have more of a problem with. He's literally sitting symbolically in the center of the most successful, popular post-game show in NBA history on this massive stage in front of millions of people representing the league in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so like the symbolism there doesn't quite make a lot of sense to me. But like the one thing that I will criticize him for, whether it's a Timberwolves thing or not, Charles Barkley hammers players left and right for years and years and decades, right? But he does it with a wink and a smile and a little self-deprecation.
Right.
Bingo.
When Draymond does it, it comes off as just sort of mean and petty, and it comes from a place of insecurity or ego more than fun, playful, and good television, I guess.
Absolutely.
When you compare it to Barkley.
That's a great point. Barkley is kind of jolly in a way, maybe a little rotund. No, but he's we like to hear it from. No, he's got a personality. Draymond is I worry about him in society. I mean, I used to worry about Rodman in society, but I guess he's done okay. But I used to worry about when these guys retire, what are they going to do? But Draymond is just, and I want to tell him, I want to say, you talk tough, you think you're tough. Nurkic could beat the snot out of you because he doesn't like Jurkic at all from the Suns, and Jurkic doesn't like him. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a break and go to the Phil for the Vikings, and then we're going to do the top 5 movies of Kyle. But I haven't given up at all on the Wolves, and I'm excited to see us compete, build that confidence. And I want so badly for us not to get swept. And I want to see if we make other adjustments in game 4.
Hey, can I ask just 2 more Wolves things real quick? One, absolutely. Has a team, maybe we have does Lord Kilby have a research staff for the Life Gorgeous that we can ask? Has a team ever swept someone in the first round, then won in 7 games in the second round, only to be swept in the conference finals? Has that pattern ever happened before?
It happened once in 1956. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. It didn't have that series. Hey, you just reminded me of something. I'm glad you brought that up. So when the Minnesota Vikings had the Minneapolis Miracle, Stephon Diggs, somebody put out this stat. And they said a team that wins an NFL game like this on the last play or something, they go on. The teams that have done it are 0-8 in the next game, and they lose by 25 points or more.
Wow.
I don't know if you ever saw that stat. I was like, oh my God. And so we got spanked in Philly, even though we scored the first touchdown. After we beat Denver on Sunday in game 7, I said, okay, we have this huge exhale. It's a lot of emotion. We're going to come out flat in game 1. And I think we might lose game 1, but we can still win the series. And we lost game 1. And the game 2 is the one we shouldn't have lost. That's the killer. But I kind of knew it was going to be tough after game 7 to win game 1. Did you guys have thoughts going into game 1?
Well, so the Flagrant Howls research staff dug this up after game 1, trying to justify and cope with what happened. But I wish we would have known this going into game 1. So teams in the last, I want to say since 2011, so like the last decade and a half, teams in the conference semifinals that win a game 7 going up against an opponent in the conference finals that didn't have to play a game 7, 0-14 in game 1.
I saw that. Exactly. But we should have won game 2.
Right. And that's the thing.
Yeah. And that's just, again, like the running analogy I keep coming up with is that I think these are even teams. Like I think the Wolves and Mavs are. I don't.
That's a good
why,
point. I've never thought that Denver. I thought Denver might be better. I never thought Dallas is better. They're clicking, but I don't know how good Dallas is because they're such a new team with that trade. Trades.
And I think 95% of this series. I think Horton had this the other day. Coming into Game 3, the Wolves had led like 77% of games 1 and 2. They were step for step with the Mavs on this track, but that final lap they just outpaced them. So. Yeah, I don't know. I think those little attention to details, Kilby, giving up a game 1 because to Phil's point, no one ever wins those and you're exhausted. But that's one game. So now you're down 0-1, right? And then if you don't have the right coverage against Luka in one spot, he might be the best shot creator / big shot maker right now in the league. Now you lose game 2. And then last night, again, you're tied. And they had 10 turnovers last night. You hate those and had 5 of them. So just these little things.
Yeah. And everyone's talking about, like, I did see somebody say the way my brain works is, Luka hit the 3 against Rudy in game 2. Ant turned it over before. Yeah, that was the game. Yeah, the first one was a missed call, or whatever. Yep. But it just puts so much pressure because I'm telling you, Luka will make those shots. And I've said this, and other people have said it, because I said it in the Denver series, because of Jokic and Murray, we need to be up 8 with about a minute left. We can't, if you want, otherwise it's going to be too much luck involved. We need to be up 8 with a minute left.
You know what play will highlight this series? It was in game 2. It was the second possession. The Mavs win the tip. They score a bucket. Next possession, what happens? The Wolves have to call a timeout with 11:47 left in the first quarter because they had no one to help Mike Conley inbound the basketball. That's minor. You get a bunch of timeouts. But that little grain of sand is just the attention to detail that the Mavs have in this series that the Wolves do not. And did that play cost them the game? No, but it kind of shows you that the Wolves are, A- attention to detail, but the Mavs are A+, and that's all that matters.
Hey, what's funny about that is in the arena. So, that's the first, it's the first time out of the game. And usually it doesn't happen until the under 7. It's the first time out of the game, and so they go to a TV timeout. They bring out the free T-shirt gun. They do everything they would do during the first timeout.
And everyone's still standing because they hadn't scored yet.
Yeah, the game just started. Oh, man.
What if in game 4, Naz scores 18? Is the series over?
Is he shooting right-handed or left-handed?
That's right.
I love that.
That was a nice left-handed fadeaway jumper too. Can I take your question and spin it back into a different question? Let's say Naz scores 18, and the Wolves, they run the Mavericks. Everything's clicking. Cat's clicking. It's just a barrage. The Wolves hit 23 pointers, and they run Dallas out of their own building by 20 points. And now it's coming back to Target Center. How much back on the bandwagon are you guys going to be for the Wolves to win this thing in 7 historically? If they just get
I'm level-headed, so my thing is I don't want to be a cliche and say take it one game at a time, but if we win game 4, it's like great. We're going to definitely. I think we're going to force a game 6 in Dallas. But I don't go to. I'm not the guy that says we're going to win a series. I don't do that. I just wait and see. How we play each game. I would love to take this to 6 games and see what happens.
Who would hate that more than anyone? A guy we just talked about, because I don't know if you saw at the end of Inside the NBA last night, but Charles Barkley was so happy because he goes, there's just one more game until I get a 4-month vacation.
Right.
If Charles has to come back, and he did love his time in Minnesota, but if he has to fly back now for game 5, he's going to be the most upset person on that set, a set that includes Draymond. But yeah, I'm with you, Kilby. I don't want to get too cliche, but if you can just find a way to win a game, I think that'll piss off the Mavs in a way. It's like, God, now, we're so close. Now we have to extend ourselves. The Celtics are probably going to clean up tonight and kind of sweep that series. So then he gets to 5. You know what happens when the Wolves came back for game 6? They win by 50 or whatever, and just kind of slowly ratchet up that pressure on the Mavs. But I'm not counting them out. I really do think that team has some pride in them, and they don't want to be swept. They don't want that on their resume, any of them. So game 4 should be interesting.
I do think the teams are evenly matched, which is proven because it's with 2 minutes left. It's always a close game. It's just the execution at the end because of the greatness of Luka and Kyrie. Just a quick Viking pride from Phil. Is everyone going crazy analyzing J.J. McCarthy?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I don't know if I can't remember if we've talked about this off mic or not, but So Judd Zulgad, my co-host on Purple Daily Vikings Entertainment, where
Sports dad.
the sports dad himself. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl at some point before we die. And so he has gone to the 2 open to media practices. It's funny, the NFL has these off-season practices called OTAs, organized team activities, which is just a fancy way of saying practice. They're practicing football in May and June, right? So he shows up to the rookie mini camp, I guess it's called, and he's charting all of the J.J. McCarthy throws. Like
I don't think KOC wants that to be done.
So KOC tells Judd, hey, we're not even charting the throws. It's way too early. And Judd said, listen, my loyalty is to the sports dad's audience. So he then went back to the first full team practice, and I've got it in my notes here. J.J. McCarthy was
7 of 9.
16 of 18 in his first full team practice. Shorts and shells, a lot of 7-on-7 in there, but no interceptions.
One other question with JJ, footwork, leading with the left foot in the shotgun. What is this, a major thing or a minor tweak? What is it?
Yeah, they're trying to get him to like change which foot he leads with in the shotgun here.
Right.
I don't even know which foot he's leading with now, to be honest, but just they're trying to flip it, and they're trying to get some new mechanics to settle in before they put him in an actual NFL game.
Kyle, let me tell you what JJ McCarthy is. He's got the legs of Rich Gannon and the arm.
Ooh.
He can sling it like Sam Bradford.
Ooh, I like that. The legs of Rich Gannon. That might be the first everyone's ever.
Was
come
Rich
up
Gannon?
With
He was mobile, wasn't he?
When you say the legs of Rich Gannon, are you talking athletically or aesthetically?
Yeah,
Kilby?
I was talking athletically. Rich could move, right? He could move. He was
could
quick.
more than you think when you think back about Rich Gannon. Yeah.
Kyle, do you care about the Vikes? I can't remember.
Oh, big. I mean, I might be as big of a Vikings fan as I am a Timberwolves fan.
Right.
I don't always understand the X's and O's, so I let Phil and Judd and others talk about it. But I don't think I've ever been more excited. I just want something new, right? I think this might be a sustainable way, Phil, right, to finally build something. So I'm just excited for a fresh way of watching a football team be built.
Phil, have you done your prediction on the Vikings record next year?
I think we've done it 3 times so far. Yeah, we did it when we.
So you really haven't gotten into it,
and it's
yet.
May 27th.
Yeah, when we knew so you know what the games are going to be, right? Early was based on where you finish, and then Judd did a mock schedule at one point, and he nailed 2 of the games. By the way, he nailed the Thursday game against the Rams, and then when the actual order of the games came out, and I think I've had him anywhere, but I think it's 8 wins or 9 wins. Okay. Haven't gone too crazy.
Yeah, the schedule's tough. It's much more brutal than Chicago's, which bothers me. Chicago has an easy schedule, and I always loathe when we have to fly to Seattle, which we had to do every year with Zimmer. And now
it's always after Thanksgiving in Seattle when it's windy and it's raining and stuff.
Kyle, top 5 movies of all time. Pressure on you. A lot of pressure.
This is Phil. You did this, right? I don't know if I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so. This was actually pretty easy for me to put together. No specific order, but these are my top 5. Crazy Stupid Love with Steve Carell. Wow. One of the best movies, I think. Gladiator, kind of just a historic one for me.
Yeah.
This one's a little more off the radar. Hardball with Keanu Reeves. When G-Baby dies, that was the hardest I've ever cried in my life. And Phil, I cried a week ago on a podcast. So that was weird.
After Game 7, yeah.
Rounders, just a classic poker movie.
Yeah.
And then
also my 5.
Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
I wanted to throw Once Upon a Time in LA in there, and that's a little more recent, but
Hollywood,
I love that
Once
movie.
Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, yep. And then Superbad would have been honorable mention. But yeah, Crazy Stupid Love, Gladiator, Hardball, Rounders, Catch Me If You Can.
Great list.
I like how that's a good list. So you've never heard of Alfred Hitchcock. Okay. So Phil, I don't remember your list. Did you say Rocky on your list or not?
I believe I can't remember the exact order, but I think Rounders was number 1 for me, and Rocky 4 a close second, or maybe flip flopped. Either way, those are my 2 favorite. Rocky 4 specifically, where Rocky essentially saves the relationship between the Soviet Union and the United States while also winning a boxing match. Yeah.
Do you guys, are there movies that you kind of rewatch over and over the way that I watch the Jason Bourne series kind of over and over? I never get tired of it. I do some of the lines. I'll have the heart healthy egg white omelet, all that kind of stuff. So do you guys, are there any movies that you rewatch over and over?
I think it's some of those movies I just mentioned, like Rounders, Phil, or even like a Gladiator. I just like movies that inspire. Obviously, right? I'm an emotional person. I like movies that inspire emotion. So I could watch Gladiator 100 times and pick little things up that get me amped up. Like again, Hardball 2 when they win it for G Baby and then he's at the funeral talking about it. That stuff. I like emotional movies, so that's kind of where I'm in. But yeah, I could watch the same movie 100 times. I love doing that.
When you say emotion, have you ever seen Sideways at the end when he drives up to the Santa Barbara area? Paul Giamatti, sad sap, the girl's interested. Do you ever see that?
I don't think I've seen. No.
Maybe you should watch Sideways, you guys. Maybe
2004. Okay.
Wolves will win game 4 if you watch Sideways today or tomorrow.
We have 36 hours to watch Sideways, and then maybe
think
the
the
series
series
can
has
go
gone
sideways for
sideways.
Dallas. You know what I'm saying, huh?
All right, fellas, this was fun. It was very cathartic for me. We have a great team, but we're in a tough, unfortunate series. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate you,
Lord
sir.
Kilby, thank you. And I think this was therapeutic for all three of us.
And a belated happy birthday again to Phil Mackey. Just turned late 30s. He's late 30s. Look at that kid.
It's the birthday season. My Aunt Sandy in Santa Rosa, California would tell you get 30 days around your birthday to celebrate life. The birthday season.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. That's our show. We'll see you next time. And remember, young people, I'm proud of you.
I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.